Hello, welcome to the channel. I'm Sally and today I'm going to be crafting an anniversary card for my husband. I've got a few things out already that I thought we might be able to use. So I've got packs of the Lidl cardstock and the paper. I've used this cardstock pad quite a bit, so I'm missing the dark blue that I want for the matting and layering in the card, but I have it in the paper. So I have pulled this pale blue card for the card base. I'm going to cut and score that into a 5x7 tent fold, so it's 7 wide by 5 deep. And I'm going to pop a layer underneath and hopefully put another light blue on top so that I can then cut an aperture of this You and Me infinite heart on the front. I've also got out some thin alphabet dies for the word anniversary, which are going to go on the bottom, and I thought I would stamp happy. I quite like this happy from this happy birthday, so I'm going to snip that stamp in half and just use the happy part over the anniversary on the front. And then I got some hearts out because I don't know whether I want to put any extra hearts on it or not, so we'll see. May or may not use those. And this is part of the Made to Surprise collection by Sam Cowcott. I thought inside it might be funny to put "Thanks for putting up with my," and then bleep on the inside. I also like this one. I might pop that inside instead. I haven't decided, so yeah, I'm probably going to use this for the inside. But yeah, let's crack on. I've just realised I'm probably going to need some more of this. So I've got one sheet which I'm going to make my card blank out of. We'll do that first. I want a 7x5 tent fold, so the fold along the top, and I want it 5 wide. I want it 7 wide by 5 deep. So I need to cut this 7 by 10. 10 folded in half is 5. So I'm going to get my trimmer out. So I'm going to cut the 10 first because it's too wide for my trimmer otherwise. So I'm lining it up with the 10 on the trimmer, and as you may have noted in my previous videos, I pull the blade towards me only. This way I get maximum usage out of my blade. When it starts to become blunt, you'll see furring on the cut edge. When that happens, I just take it out, flip it over, and then I've got more usage out of it. If I used it both ways and it started to fur, I'd have to change it. So that's the way I manage my cutting blade. So that is now 10 inches this way. So I know that that's going to be 5 in half when I cut it in half and when I score it and cut it in half, sorry. And then I want this one to be 7, so I'm making a 5x7 inch tent fold card. So again, lining it up with a 7 and bringing it down. These scraps I will keep and put in the pad to use for other things. I may use some of those later. So I've got this here. I now get my scoring board, so I want this to fold along here, so I'm going to turn it so that the long edge is along the top. And I know that this is 10, so I want to score at 5, so I'm butting it up here and at the top, and I'm putting my scoring tool in and drawing down on the 5-inch mark. Take a bone folder, fold it along the score line, make sure you're level. In the middle and out. I've found if you don't move your scoring tool from the middle out, it will buckle and your edges can be off. That's what works for me. Yeah, I get better results that way. So this is our basic card I'm going to use. So I'm going to go for a darker blue matten layer, and the plan is to have this underneath, and then another piece of top like that, and then I want to cut this You and Me infinite symbol out of the white, of the pale blue top layer, so that you see the infinite symbol and the hearts in the dark blue coming through underneath. So I want to get the dark blue layer down on my card blank first, so we'll cut that now, and then we'll cut the light blue layer and the infinite out of it after. So we know this is 7, and we know that it's 5 high. I like to come in by 1/4 inch. It gives an 1/8 of an inch gap around the outside. I think that's an acceptable gap, but you may like your gaps bigger, in which case go for a bit more off. So to go on to there, which is a 7 by 5, I'm going to go for 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. So that's the 6 3/4, and this is the 4 3/4. So that's giving me a nice 1/8 of an inch around the edge. Now I want this to be shown as a border as well, so my light blue layer is going to be 1/4 inch in on top of that. So this piece, this has been cut at 6 3/4, so I want to cut one at 6 1/2 and 4 1/2. So that I get minimum wastage out of here, I'm going to do the 4 1/2 along the long edge, because I've got plenty to do 6 1/2 along here. So 4 1/2. Let's have a bit of tidy up. And now I want 6 1/2. So this sits with the same gap all round as it does when it sits on the main card. So this is what it will look like when it's together. And let's decide where we want this. So I want this cut out of the light blue top layer, so this top layer, so that this dark blue comes through. So I had a bit of a practice on another piece of card. So this is the effect that I'm going for. I think there. Let me get the alphabets, because I want anniversary along the bottom. And I don't know if it's going to be big enough, so I'm going to have 2 of those. And so let's move that to there. So that's Annie, V, E, R, S, A, R, and Y. So that fits perfectly along there. So I think the You and Me Infinity there, anniversary along the bottom, and the anniversary letters I'm going to cut out of the paper and stick on the top. That's so that I don't have to line them up and cut them out, and I think a little bit of a difference in the technique will look nice rather than having it all sunken away and poking through. So I'm going to go away and cut those, and then we will assemble them together once I've been to the die cutting machine. I decided to cut the letters out of a scrap piece of the card from the Lidl cardstock rather than the paper, just because it's a little bit thicker, and I didn't know whether the paper would stand up to being raised from the front of the card, so I did it from that. I also, whilst I was there, decided that I wanted to cut a bit of foam to lift the letters up. So I've got the card letters here in the dark blue, and in this tray, which was part of the Made to Surprise Advent, I've got the foam that I've cut out. It's sticky back foam, and I'm going to attach the dark blue to the top just to layer it up so that it's a little bit thicker. And I just used a piece of self-adhesive children's craft foam. I just generally tend to use this for lettering when I want a bit of dimension. I don't use it for anything else. So yeah, I pulled some of that out and used that whilst I was away, and I cut the infinity heart out of here. I'm keeping all of the pieces because I need to use those to piece it back together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this to the card base, and to do that I'm going to use Collal All-Purpose because it dries rock hard, gives the card a bit of stability. Although this card's really quite sturdy and doesn't need it, the Collal All-Purpose doesn't buckle the cardstock, so even if there's a difference in weight, it should hold up quite well. So I'm going to use some of that on the back. There, I'm going to use a blade to get rid of that. It's gone. So I'm just going to move that around a little, get that in equal border all the way around, and I'm happy with that now. With a bit of a push out, because I didn't use an awful lot of the glue, that will stick quite quickly. The more of the Collal All-Purpose you put on, the longer it will take to adhere. It's great if you want a bit of wiggle room. So the plan is to have this stuck down again with glue because I want the dimension to be the letters. So this will sit on top, and then I'm going to piece in this. I'm going to piece in the missing pieces here so that the You and Me is in dark blue. Let's get this stuck on, and then it will all become clear, hopefully. So I am going to switch to quick grab for these pieces because I don't want the Collal to spill out. So I'm just going to do some light dabs in here. Okay, So again, lay that down, make sure you've got an equal border all the way around the outside. Excuse my head. And gently make sure that all of this around here is stuck. I can see that's going to need a little bit more adhesive behind there. I've got some of these little plastic sticks. I think they're eyelash glue glue sticks. They've got like a little furry tip that you can put the glue on. Sometimes I use those, sometimes I use these. These are for nail art. They've got a little bit of cotton wrapped around the tip. They're for clean up around the nail edge. Sometimes you use that, sometimes you use one of these. I'm going to use this today. I'm going to put a little bit of the quick grab on the tip, and I'm going to lift that gently and stuff that under there because that's beginning to lift. Just makes getting into the awkward areas a little bit easier. So I'm going to do the same for this. So try not to put the glue on over the project. I think I need more glue in that bottle. Let's get some tweezers and lift that up so I'm not getting my grubby mitts on it. So get under there and slide some glue and give it a push. Okay, I'm happy with that. So now to piece that in, I'm going to need the dot in the U, in the Y for U, and the centre of the O and the centre of the E. So I went back to the cutting machine and I found the centre of the E. So this is stuck down nicely. I want the you and me in the blue. So the plan is to use this to stick this piece in there and onto the back along with this piece, so they will be part of the card and then this will come out. So I think what I'm going to do, because the centre of the words you and me are small and I have them in this piece anyway, I'm going to put a little dab of glue on the back. I found the inside of the E. I'm going to get those on and then I will get these bits in and we'll take this piece out. All will become clear as we do it. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to put some tiny little bit of glue on there. Tiniest little bit of glue on there and on there. And then I'll put the centre of the E in when this is in. So can you see what I'm doing there yet? So I'm going to lay this in so it pieces back perfectly. I'm going to give the centre of the O and the Y a push so that they stick. I'm going to get a little bit of glue in the hole of the E and I'm going to use my pick up tool and I'm going to pick the centre of the E up and I'm going to drop it in the gap and give it a push. Okay, so whilst that's down I'm going to stick these pieces in. So this one is the U. So I'm going to put the glue on the blue because I know where it's going to go. So this one is the U. So it's got tweezers so you can see. So I'm going to lay this in the gap and piece it perfectly. And I'm going to do the same with this one. Make sure they're down. Give those two a little bit of a push, and then, because this isn't stuck in, this should lift. I'm just easing that bow out of there. Again, holding the centre of the E with the tweezers so that it stays on the board, and as you can see, that's makes that read perfectly well. So we don't need this. I'm going to save this, maybe use it on another project. I've got a little pot with some things like this in, so if I'm looking for a quick make, I've got things already done. The hearts here came out. I mean, that might look nice in the centre of there if you were going for that look, but I'm going to leave them like that. Okay, so that bit's done for me. I'm happy with that. You can read what it says, and it's turned out perfectly. So I'm going to put that to the side, and I'm going to lay out the cardboard letters for the word anniversary, and this is the test to see whether I can spell. Pop out the middle of the R, we don't need that, and the middle of the A. Now let's get the foam parts. So it's slightly lighter blue, but I'm not concerned about that because it's going underneath the dark. I just didn't want to put white foam underneath. I could have put black, but I quite like the fact that this is going to give it a two-tone blue effect, given that we've got two-tone blue on the front anyway. So yeah, I'm just removing the centres of the letters. And as I say, these are double-sided, so this double-sided sticky, so this will come off, and when we've got them in our position on the card, they'll be easy to stick. Okay, just make sure I've got all the letters. A little bit of static going on. Okay, so I'm going to stick the darker ones on top of the lighter ones with the quick grab glue. So I'll bring the card back in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the centre is going to be the E. So I can see my 3.5 markers here. So I want the centre of that E on the 3.5. And I'm coming up probably about just over 1/4 of an inch from the bottom of the light blue top layer. So let's lay the others out before we start sticking, because I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to start picking them up with the tweezers and taking the backing off and sticking them down. Perfect. So I'm going to give them a bit of a push just to make sure they're on. Lovely. the next thing I want to do is to stamp happy here. So I've got my sentiments, which I pulled this out. I really like this happy. I think that's going to look lovely there. Let's get a stamping block and some ink and a pair of scissors. These scissors are from the Advent, from the Nature Supplies Advent. Very comfortable to use, very sharp, and make fussy cutting and anything in detail like this very easy. So there is a tiny little gap in between the happy and the birthday, and I'm going to snip between the two. I'll still be able to use the whole sentiment, but it just makes it easier for me to use it individually if I want to, as I do in this instance. I've just nipped the happy away. I'm going to pop it on my block. Pop this one back. And I'll put it back with its buddy in a moment. So let's get a scrap bit of card to test on, just in case. I don't want to ruin this, so just to make sure that it is going to stamp nicely. Just had a bit of a coughing fit there. Just doing a couple of test stamps just to see if I'm happy with how it's going to come out. Yep, I'm happy with that. So I've got ink. Make sure I've got sufficient ink on. I'm going to hover over and commit to there. Perfect. I'm really pleased with that. So now the only decision I need to make is, do I put hearts here or do I leave it as it is? I think I might go and cut some of these hearts using this in blue. Come back and we'll have a look. Okay, I've cut some hearts out of the die that we use for this. I think if I start using different sized hearts, it would look a bit strange. Let's have a look. So I cut some in foam as well, because I can't decide whether I want them flat or whether I want them raised. And I know I want 3, because even numbers are not my thing, and it's more aesthetically pleasing. It's either going to be 3 or 1. I actually think I prefer 1. And I'm going to pop it up on foam. So let's get some glue on here. Try not to wear it. Applied it directly to the heart because I haven't got a lot to do, like I did with the letters. And I think there looks quite nice. So let's take the sticky off. there, I think. Committed. I'm happy with that. The only thing that's left for me to do is to make an insert. So I did consider just stamping straight into the card. As much as I do that occasionally for other people, I think for special cards it's nice to have a proper insert. So I've got some ice white insert paper, which is printable, but I tend to use it plain and stamp onto it. So I'll have a sheet of that which I will fold and trim to fit, and then stamp before I put it into the card, because often I've folded, trimmed and put it into the card and then stamped, and the stamp hasn't worked, and I've had to take the insert out, which does or doesn't work depending on how you adhere it, and it has sometimes meant that I've needed to remake the card. So I've learnt from my mistakes. So I'm just going to freehand fold this because it's going inside a card and it's light enough for me to do that. I'm going to run the bone folder along it so it's a nice crisp edge. The way I do my inserts is I lay it in and I mark the top edge. So I leave a gap. I leave a gap on the left, so I know I want it to go in a little bit. Rather than measure it, I think it's just easier to do it by eye. And then I mark roughly the same here with a pencil, and then roughly the same up with the pencil there. And then I get a trimmer, usually my tonic guillotine. And I pop it in, butt it up to the top or the bottom, doesn't tend to make a lot of difference. Hold it securely, line the mark up with the edge of the cutting blade, and then slice that off. And then I'll do the bottom edge just so that it's transparent. So I'm lining the pencil mark up with the cutting edge. Make sure it's butted up here. Hold on to it securely. With a guillotine, if you don't hang on to it, sometimes it will move. So make sure you've got your hands on the safety plate and you've got your paper pinched. And then your guillotine arm you bring down in one swoop. So that's ready to go in. But we want to stamp it first. So I'm going to grab my stamping platform and my ink and my sentiment. I use the Creative Craft Products stamping platform because it's so easy to use. So I'm going to open this up and lay it on with magnets. It comes with 4 magnets. I generally tend to use only 2 because it's sufficient. So when you pull this over, there is a clear gap between the paper or card and the top of the platform where you're going to pop your stamp, which means that you can move it over the top, and if it's not in the right place, it won't stamp until you push it down. And that is why I love it. So I actually think I'm going to go for this one here. So whilst I'm getting this out, if you like my content, please hit the like button and the subscribe. It really does help my channel to grow. Yeah, I'd appreciate a comment as well. If you'd like to see something specific, please drop me something in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Thank you for watching. So I think I like that there. Excuse my head, trying to get it lined up. Yes, so I've laid that with the stamping edge down, and by pulling this over and pushing it down, I'm picking it up. And now I'm going to ink the stamp on the left. I've got Versifying Clear in Arctic, which is a blue. I think it will go quite nicely with this. I actually really like that. I'm going to take that out and put that to one side to dry. Okay, let's check whether this is dry. So the way I check whether something's dry is I take a piece of kitchen towel and I lay it over it and rub. So I'm holding it still and blotting effectively, and if it comes off and is clean, which in this instance it is dry. I have too many times run my hand over it like this and smeared it and messed it up. Again, another reason not to put your insert into your paper, into your card until you are happy with it. So I am happy with it now, so I'm going to fold it the right way and re-burnish the top edge. And I'm going to put it into my card. So I'm happy with that. I always attach mine to the top, inside top or inside front of the card, because then when the person opens it, it lifts the insert up and reveals the sentiment and whatever you've written inside. So I'm going to get my double-sided tape and my tape scissors, because I keep a pair of scissors exclusively for tape. And I'm going to run a length. Sometimes it's shorter than that, sometimes it's longer, across the top by the fold. Remove the backing. Make sure you've got it where you want it. So I've got an equal border around the outside. Hang on to it and shut it. So when we now open this, not holding it other than the top, it lifts the edge and you can see your sentiment inside. So all that's left for me to do with that now is to write in it, pop it into an envelope and give it. I don't have any 5x7 envelopes, so we will probably make one of those now. I'm going to have a bit of a tidy up and then I'll come back and we'll do that. So the card we know is 5x7. So I've got an envelope punch board. It's a We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board. And I want to look for 5x7, which is here. And it tells me I want a 9.5 by 9.5 square piece of paper. And I need to score at number 4. And I've got some A3 paper, that cheap paper that I buy just for envelopes. So I'm going to cut this down to 9.5 square on my trimmer. So that's a little bit big. Snip that with the scissors. And let's cut that at 9.5. So we have a 9.5 square piece of paper, which is going to be our envelope. Envelope board. So we're working in inches. So I put my paper up to the edge and move the paper to 4 inches. I punch the notch out and then I score gently because it's paper. And then we rotate anti-clockwise and we line up the score line that we have just made with this here. So once that's lined up, we punch again and we score, and we repeat. So turning anti-clockwise, we line the score line up, and because this is the opposite edge, this one is also at 4, and we punch and we score, and we do that on all 4 sides. Last one, and you will see that we have a basic envelope shape. Turn it over and burnish, fold and burnish. All 4 sides. If you'd made a card with any dimension, now's the time to put it in, and so I would put that in. If this had more dimension, I would put it in and I would do the fold and burnish around it so that it would make it, the score lines would give you enough room for the card. It's not necessary in this instance. It's as thick as a piece of foam and a regular card. So I'm going to burnish these edges now. So that's your basic envelope. This would be fine just to seal up as it is. To do that, you will run tape or glue down this edge and this edge and fold it shut. I tend to use glue, but before I do that, I like to remove this little flap here because I like a clean straight line across there. So I will do that now. I'm going to put a pencil mark where this edge meets this edge. So here, and again where this edge meets this edge here. And I'm going to do it the same for the top flap because I like the look. So I'm going to do it there and there. And then I will get my guillotine and I'll line up the pencil marks with the cutting edge and trim off the top so it looks like that rather than like that. I prefer it. You might like to keep it as a traditional envelope shape. So taking the top one off as well. The only other thing left for me to do there is to remove the pencil marks. So I'll get myself a rubber. Quickly get rid of those. And then stick. So I tend to lay it down, put my fingers where the edge comes to and leave it there so that I know I don't go over it with the glue. So I will run a little line of glue along. You really don't need a lot, you're just tacking it down. Using the quick grab glue, and I tend to open it up and feel from the inside as well because I've put cards into an envelope I've made using this method before and the card is stuck to the envelope because the glue is overspilled on the inside, so I can feel that that's fine. And then for the top edge I will get, so the closure, I will get a small amount of double-sided tape, put it along the top edge, and snip it off. So when I come to use this, I can put my card in. Peel the edge of the tape off and seal it, and it's sealed shut. So that's this project finished. Thank you for watching. I hope that what I've shown you today is helpful and you've enjoyed it. If you have, as I've said before, please like and give me a thumbs up, and subscribe if you can. If you'd like to leave a comment, I'll be happy to read those. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.